which is topical in this case, is really high. So we're going to actually look at what we can do to help people work from home. A lot of people have the tools already. So looked at the list of people who have signed up for this, so thanks for doing that. Most of you are existing clients, most of you are big Microsoft shops. You have the tools. It's just about actually getting that value out of them. So what we're going to do today is look at Teams, look at project within that. We're going to look at some tips and tricks. So the way we've structured this is that we have a lot of questions have been sent in, and this is an opportunity for you to ask questions. But we're going to sort of weave through a bit of a narrative, a bit of a story. I'm going to show you some things as we go. So I'll start and I will show things as we go along, and then that will actually answer some of the questions that we've received. So we've done that on purpose, and then ask questions as you go. Okay. Now you can enter into the chat. You can enter questions in that way, and Cecilia will call them out occasionally, or we'll get to them at the end. Now, some of the questions you've sent have been actually thought-provoking and large, actually. So therefore, we will have to get back to you on some of them, just because they're like rabbits, like icebergs, and the detail can go really, really deep on them. But we will get back to you on them. So as I said, today is about Teams and about Project Online. Now, a little bit about me. Most of you probably know, the South African voice. So my name is Ryan Darby. I'm the delivery manager for Sensei in Queensland. So sunny, nice and warm in Queensland still. I've been doing this for about 2 decades now. It seems like forever. Our focus as the Sensei on productivity. It's on helping you in times like this, where you're at home, people are scattered around all over, finding ways to be effective at working and be engaged. We want people to actually be 100% brought in, sucked into the process, working, and not see it as a chore to actually go and interact with each other. Now, a bit of context around Sensei. I'm not going to do a whole sales pitch on Sensei. It's Friday and it's lunchtime. I don't want to do that. But just want to point out that we are a Microsoft productivity partner, and I stress the productivity part. A lot of you know us from our roots, which are Project Online and Project Server before that. The world has grown. You can't think of one single app anymore. You have to think about, well, productivity. How do I manage work? I may do projects, I may do little tasks, I may do BAU operational work, I may just need teams to collaborate together. And that's why we look wider at the Microsoft stack. And Teams, Microsoft Teams, is really growing up as being this tool that is not what a lot of people think it is. So I tend to meet people who say, oh, Teams, that's like Skype, isn't it? Well, a little bit. And then they'll say, oh, but we don't use Teams, we use Zoom or Rocket Chat or something like that. I'm like, yeah, okay. But you're actually confusing Teams with online chat or video calling. Teams may include that, but it is significantly more. Teams, you can talk to each other online. You can run entire call centers through Teams, and people do. You can access your apps. You can collaborate. You can run meetings through it. You can share information. It becomes the one focal point for a team to do work. That's the point to Teams. What that work is, well, we're going to look at that a little bit as we go through today. It doesn't have to be the work of talking to each other. It could be I need to go and look at a report. Well, why go off to another app? Why can't I just go to Teams? Or I need to go and look at, update my project. Why can't I do that inside Teams? No questions yet. Let me get out of this and actually go to Teams itself. Okay, I've got 3 devices running here. So we've got my laptop, I've got an iPad and my phone, and they're all going to play a part in this demo, but obviously it's slowing the home internet down. So that is one downside from working from home. Sometimes it's a bit slower. We've had a lot of clients actually say it's faster for them working from home, which I find really interesting. Okay, so the first thing in Teams, okay, what you're looking at here is the Teams app. I will talk a bit more about the app versus the web version of this in a little while. But Teams is that place, as I said, where it's the one entry point. So from here, I have gone in. I am in a team called the Automated Sensor System, which is actually project related. And there's a lot of information. I have posts, Facebooky type chat stuff. I can store my files in there. I have my registers. So those of you, some of you may recognize this. It's actually a project workflow. We're looking at an app inside Project Online over here. So Power App in this case. I can have my schedule in over there. I can have, let me just wait for it to load. There's my schedule. I've got Planner. Yeah, Planner doesn't want to load, or it's just a bit slow. So everything can be accessed in one place. Now this means that you can end up with a lot of information. So the first little thing I want to point out that is blinding the obvious, but I will bet you that one of you, if you care to admit it, doesn't know this, you can search or filter on Teams. A lot of people complain that they've got to scroll down 100 times, and you can do that, or you can just search. So here is our team from today, and I was looking at the automated sensor system, and there it is. Okay. So simple little tip, you can actually search within this. Now, let's take a bit of a step back, and this actually answers a couple of the questions that were sent through. Let's talk a little about where Teams comes from. Well, it comes from Microsoft. But specifically, the question is around licensing. Who needs a license? Does everyone need a license? In short, yes, but no as well. So Teams comes with an E-level license for Office 365. It may not be turned on. You may need to talk to your IT. Generally, it's turned on by default, but it is possible to turn it off for individual users or groups. There are two versions. Well, there are several versions, but there's a free version and a paid version. The free version is okay, but it's limited to the number of users. Most of the people on this call would be from organizations that are quite large. The free version takes you up to 300 users and has slightly lesser functionality. Now, I said everyone needs a license, but not necessarily everyone needs a license, and this is what the external users are all about. So if you're in an organization and you have Office 365 on an E-level, you will get Teams anyway. You don't have to pay twice. So if you want to use Teams, you'll find it's probably there. Maybe your IT hasn't quite got their head around it yet, so they haven't enabled it all, but you've got it anyway. Don't go and buy another license. But you may want external users to come in. Now, external users can actually come in to a team, okay? And these are people outside your company. So what we have is we can go and we can create ourselves a channel. So I'm going to call this my external users channel. So it will create it, and it will then let me add users to this. Now, as long as that user has a commercial email address, you will be able to have them come in. Okay, just wait, it'll take a little while to turn up over there. Or I can go to add users over here. Click. Okay, it's still building that. When you add a channel, it often takes a minute or two to actually build itself up. So the point is anyone can come in. They are limited in there. Now they are limited in functionality, but there's also a limit to the number of users, but it's a very high limit. You can actually have 5 of them per license user. So if you're a 1,000-person company, you can have 5,000 guest external users coming in. That is a whole lot of external users. So I wouldn't really think that you would have a problem with running out, because if you're a company that has 5 times more externals than you have staff, that's probably a very high number. Okay.
Hi, Ryan.
Yeah.
A question just came through, I guess, in relation to what you're presenting now.
Yeah.
The question is, are we going to be given the instructions on how to set this up in Teams, including the access required, Teams or O365 access?
No, we don't have a document as such explaining that, but we can talk to you about it. So Sid, if you take a note of who that is, we can get back to them afterwards. We can help them through this.
Absolutely. Yep, I got the details here.
Okay.
So I'll get back to Anthony about that.
Cool. Okay. Now, so Teams. So let me clear this out, and you'll see this, what you're looking at here is my live. This is what I use in Sensei. So we use this. Teams as the center of everything in Sensei. We're actually looking at, there's a whole lot of teams here. And I said you can search, which is great, but maybe we need to think about how we create these in the first place. Okay, so there's our external users has popped up there. So we were in automated sensor system. So you're going to think about this. Okay, now I'm going to kind of address two questions at once here. One was to do with people asking, what's the best way to approach the design around teams? Like, do I create lots of teams or lots of channels? What do I actually do? And the other one was around groups. So there's a concept called a group sitting underneath the team. So I'm going to address both of these. If we think about what a group is, so an Office 365 group, people see it as, oh, it's that IT thing that gets created when I create a team. Well, that's true, but think about it a little bit differently. The concept of a group is that the group is a collection of people and functionality that represents a group. It's a group of people. So start by designing out your groups. So if you need to think about, do I create the team or the group? Well, you don't have to create the team first. If you actually design out your groups, you will come up with, well, we have a group in the PMO that consists of project managers. We have a group in operations. We have a group in, the marketing department, etc. So that's one way to actually do that. You can then create a team and add it. So we could go and create a team. And when we create that team, we can actually choose the group that that team sits on top of. We do not have to create a new group just because we've got a team. If you go the other way around and you just create teams without consideration for the groups, what you will end up doing is creating lots of groups. Not necessarily the end of the world, but it's missing an opportunity to really structure the back end in a smart way. Okay? So my advice would be there to, if you can, think about the group first and attach the team to the group. Every team will have a group. So if you create it or it needs a group, it sits on top of a group. So if you create the team first, you're going to get a group anyway. I guess what I'm saying is, don't go nuts creating teams for everything. Think about it. So why do you want a team? So some people create them by department. We've had some people create them by projects. Each project has a team. That's okay, but there's another way of doing it where you could say, I'm creating the project delivery team, and each channel within that could be a project. Then that's okay, but one of those projects has, like we had the external users. Now I need another channel for that because I want to limit them inside that. When you create the channel, you can choose to create it as private or not, and keep them out of the private one. So there's no right or wrong answer for this. It really depends on what you're doing. But the first piece of advice is, don't create your teams randomly. The second is, think about structuring the group. So effectively, the teams are based on your permanent structures, and then structure the channels accordingly. So a channel per project is a very good way to do that. We have a client who has, I think, 800 people, and they're sitting with 4,000 teams at the moment. So that means everyone is spread over multiple teams. You just lose things at that point, okay? So now,
right. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Another question came in relation to this. Can you use pre-existing Active Directory groups? Landsbeam, I've asked.
The AD group is not the same exactly as a Office 365 group. So they can be related, but working backwards off those, good question. I don't know. We'll get back to you on that one. Okay, now, so let's say we've decided to create not like I've got it here, but we create a group for a group, such as the marketing department or the project area, the PMO, and then each channel is for a team. I'm going to need to break this down a little bit. I need more than just one channel. So if we look at it, we have the concept of teams. And this starts coming in with, so not teams, the concept of tabs. And this starts looking at some of the questions we've had around as well. How do I integrate other tools in? How do I integrate Project Online, for example? Well, here's Project Online. This is a Power App, actually, first. It's a Power App in a PDP. So there was a question around, can I stick a PDP inside Teams? Well, yes, you can. You can create a tab. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. You can, and inside that tab, you can put an app. Now, Sensei has some smarts developed where you can actually put a PDP inside that. The schedule is another PDP. So we have the online schedule over here that we can bring through. So what you can do is I go to the team and the channel for that project. And from there, I can do most of what I need. I don't actually need to go external. Okay. If I'm just a team member, here's just again an example of an app, is the Sensei team member app that hopefully will load and not ask me to log on. Interesting. 30 minutes ago, we had a rehearsal session to make sure all the stuff worked and everything worked. And because it's a live demo, something's not going to work. So I guess that's just one of those demo god rules. Okay, now, what I'm going to show you shortly is adding Power BI specifically into this. But before we actually do it, let's just talk a little bit more about the naming, these creations. When you go and create your team and your channel, there are a couple of things you can actually do. You can rename them. Okay? So I can say, I don't want this to be called delivery. I want to rename that. Now the point to, not there, the point to this is that when you do this, you have in the back end the group and a site collection, the SharePoint site collection sitting in the back there. It will not change its name. What you are doing is effectively changing on the front end over here. So if you are going to do something interesting to the name, put weird characters into it, such as you can put emojis in. So if you hold down the Windows key and you push the period, the dot, you can actually put an emoji in. Okay, so we're laughing person. So we've got an emoji in that name, okay, which is quite interesting. What you don't want to do is put the emoji in the name when you create the team in the first place, or the channel in the first place, because the emoji, although it will actually translate into a Unicode character and should be okay in the name, it just makes the life a little harder for developers who need to go and write things to go and pull information out from all of these teams and channels. So best to create first and then rename later. But you can actually put emojis in there. Little things like this make it that little bit easier. Okay. Now we see people are starting to rename things. People are coming in here, and we go into the delivery area, and they are starting to chat, and you're getting a lot of notifications and noise, and you're seeing that people are putting all kinds of stuff in there, thinking maybe this is not quite what we need. You can, if you go to manage the channel, you can actually set moderation. Now, in this case, I am not the original owner of this team. So therefore, I can see the moderation, but I can't change it. If I'm the owner of the team, I can actually change the moderation. But the tip out of this, so which answers a question around people just going a bit wild in teams, you can absolutely set moderation, which allows you to control who can create a post and who can, do they need checking, and can externals, so guests, actually create posts, so you're just letting them see. Okay, so you have the ability to moderate within that. A little bit more on our channels. You see the general channel. The general channel is always there. Out of the box, you will get a general channel. You can then create others. Our advice on the general channel is use it for general things. So if we're a project or we are representing an actual organizational team, use the general channel as the place where we put high-level information, we put things you need to reference frequently, we put the project charter, this type of thing, including a note saying, hey, did you know that there are externals in here? Now, Teams does have a little warning that pops up around, a little note that says around externals, okay, but it's not in your face obvious. So earlier today, actually, I had one of our team members put some commentary in Planner around something one of our external clients had put in, not writing to me thinking that no one will see it. We're like, well, client saw it. So you need to think about making sure people realize what the rules of this channel are. And your general channel is a good place to put the rules of the team. So what we want to do now is we want to look at adding a bit more. Let's add tabs. There was a question around Power BI. How can we add Power BI? Okay. Well, we can. Along the top, you have tabs. You get these ones out of the box. Posts is what we're looking at here. So people can go and chat about things, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Files is where your files go. Now, these files are stored in OneNote. They are not the same as the files in Project Online in the project site. So it's not the same library. What we look at doing is, if you are going down this path, the future path really is that we move away from using the project sites. It solves a bunch of technical problems, and it also means we can integrate what you're doing into Teams, into, or we'll talk slightly about Sensei RQ is a new version of a tool from us. You can pull all these things into one place. I go into Teams, I run everything in there. You've got a wiki, and we're going to add an app. So you hit the plus sign. Okay, pretty easy. Look, there's Power BI. This is as simple as it is. So Power BI is going to load up a little page. It lets me actually put it in. Okay. Now, when you do this, it's context sensitive in that you're not putting Power BI, the app, in where you can go and create your own. Remember, this is for a team to work to get information they need. So you are putting in a link on that tab to Power BI running a particular report or dashboard. So here is one prepared earlier. This is the original Microsoft pack, the content pack, Power BI content pack for Project Online. So we're going to load that in. Interesting. So what should, there we go, very slow, okay. So we're just having, I think the whole world is really using up the internet. The hamsters are running very fast. So what we have here is Power BI loaded in. It's as simple as that. You load the app in and you select a pre-created, published report, dashboard, and you then load that in. Okay, it's as simple as that. So what you do is you structure yourself, your team, various channels, and then split it further by tab. So I want to be able to go in and run my life from the tabs, essentially. Now, if I find I am constantly going to one app all the time, so let's say I'm not only viewing Power BI, or in this case, I'm using Planner. So a lot of people are using Planner as a way to have small tasks, the more ad hoc tasks. They don't want to run them through the schedule. This is a good place. As you've seen, we can get to, so I'll actually go back to the automated sensor system. We have all of our project information in here. So I have my schedule for the formal tasks. I also have Planner sitting in over there. And this allows me to deal with the little ad hoc type things. So here's a whole lot of Planner activity. Now let's say I use Planner across many different projects. Well, wouldn't it be nice to pin Planner on the left there? So I can go to the ellipsis and I can say, well, Planner's not there anymore, but let's say I wanted to put shifts in. I can right click and say pin. So what I've done is I had originally pinned Planner. So when it opens up, what Planner's doing now, it's not the same as the Planner inside an individual channel. What it's actually doing is pulling all the planners through from everywhere. So this is my one-stop shop. Remember, Teams is all about you having a one-stop shop. I am able to go in and see everything across all my clients, all my projects. I can see all of these in one place, and I can manage them over there. So I don't have to go hunting through different areas all the time to find this. We've also got, in this case, I won't go into it, but Sensei RQ, just give a quick plug for it. This was launched today. So new solution from Sensei, really going forward based on project for the web. So it's really, we're looking at the next generation stuff here. But I know you'll hear from Cecilia in the future about this type of thing. Now, once I start getting all this information set up, I've now got, things coming in from Planner. I've got all these different teams. Let's say you do have a proliferation of teams, which very likely will happen. you might find that you need to control this thing a little bit. You need to actually decide how you are or who you are sending messaging to and not sending it to absolutely everyone all the time. So if I go back to the one we created earlier, the webinar one, over here, I can manage my team and I can actually set up tagging. So there's James. So James is one of our solutions team. He heads up our solutions team. So I'm going to say he is in the solutions team. So I will create a tag called solutions. So if I now am working away over here and I want to send I don't want a notification. So you see up over here, I've got a little ding bell goes off, this chat, goes off. Mine goes off all day, all the time, because people will go in. Let's say there are 20 people on a project and someone types something in, then you all get a notification. They go in like, okay, that one wasn't for me. Now it's like, hey, solutions team. Well, everyone is going to get that. So how about instead I go at solutions? Well, I've tagged, in this case, only one person, so they will get that. And only they find out about it. So we start to control the amount of that bell going ding all the time. Now, if I do need to get, let's say I've sent that to solutions thinking I'm going to get hold of, James and his team members, the people I've tagged. Let's say they kind of ignoring me, okay? So I'm going to take a more direct approach over here. I'm going to call James directly. Right? James. There's James, but I don't want to be so formal, especially some organizations don't just say James Bowman. They list out the whole title of the person, the department, so you get about, a full line worth of text coming through. What you're actually able to do is hit backspace once. It takes all of that off. It trims it to their first name. So you just end up with a neater conversation. So let's say I do that and James is still actually ignoring me. I think, okay, I need to get this on record as I'm talking to James here. So I can go look at the format here. I can say, you know what? This is now actually going to be, I want a record of this. So I'm going to put a subject in. So the first thing is it's not just chat, because all these chats can be lost in there. You may need to group them together or have a record of the chats and the responses to these. So I'm going to design decisions, for example, okay? And I can go and put that in and put a message in, and James would actually get out of the blue. He's not going to know what that's all about. We'll see what happens. So you see this way, by putting the header in, I'm able to create headers under which we can then all start to reply. And then it doesn't just get lost. Now let's say James is still ignoring me. Okay, James. So what we do here is we go to James. So I go find James through the traditional chat. And this one is a slightly evil tip I'm going to give you, okay? So over here is a little delivery options. I can set this that he'll just get one notification. Or I can set it that it's actually marked as important. Or I can set this that it's urgent. He gets, this thing goes ding every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. It sucks, okay? But it's a great way if you absolutely have to get hold of someone. So you can send that off and this thing will go ding and ding and ding every 2 minutes until he acknowledges it. It doesn't just keep going forever. What he has to do is actually go in and acknowledge this thing. Now, let's go back to our team. We'll get out of all this chat. As we go along, we are able to also say, look, James did get back to me. He was really busy and did a really good job. And this team members love, HR people love, is the praise button. So we can actually send praise to people within this. Now, when you send praise or you hit like, you can also hit like within here. It's not exactly like Facebook. the point to, let's do the line. The point to the praise is its praise, but the like is an acknowledgement. So it's just saying, I have seen this. So Mark has actually started a conversation there. I'm like, yep, I've seen this. It's not saying, hey, Mark, good job, or yeah, I really support this. It hasn't, it's just not how the meaning is built into Teams. Okay, so let's say now we have gone along and we have quite a good chat going. Okay, so we've got all the chat actually happening. And what we want to do, let me go back to the webinar one. We realize that some people are external and they just can't quite get in. Okay, they are not going to ever be able to see this. But I've now got a good bit of information here. If I could spell properly, and I need this to go off to different people. So I go to my ellipses over there, and I can share this to Outlook. So what will pop up is a little form where I can actually email that off. Now, this will come through as a quite well formatted and standard email once it loads. There it is, it's from me and it's to me. I will just send that to myself, okay? So the email goes off in that direction. So I can get things out of the Teams quite easily. I'm also able to get emails in. So a lot of organizations deal with transmittals, where you need to capture formally the emails coming into you. You can give people this email address for a channel, specifically on the channel. So I can copy that. And if I go to my email, there it is, there's my design decisions. Yep, it comes through as a very nicely formatted email. I can now create a new one, and there I can paste it. And look at it, it's actually found it because guess what? We're in the Microsoft Cloud here. You're part of Office 365. It knows where the group is and it's tied everything together. So let's send that off. So we now send that, and what will happen is the email will come in here as part of the chat. Just give it a little while. There it is, okay? So that has now come in. If I had an attachment on this, it would actually strip the attachment and stick it into the files. So in here, we have one, so there's the one I've just sent, and here is one that I actually sent in earlier. So we can open this up, it saves it as an email message in over there. So you can have emails going in both directions from Teams. Remember, the point here is the long term, the big bet essentially is that if I've got Teams, why do I need email? I can interact with people externally, I can interact with people internally, and I can put all my detail in there, so perhaps I don't need email so much. Okay, now we've been chatting away, we've got Teams, we've seen how we can access our project information, how we can access Power BI, we can get to other apps from within here. Teams becomes that one place I go to do all my work. But I'm actually going to have to meet with people as well. So we are actually in a meeting now. And there were questions, there were two questions. One was around breakout rooms and one was around Whiteboard. Now I'm going to admit I am a whiteboard tragic. I love a good whiteboard, okay? Within Teams, you do have a whiteboard. So there it is. So I'm in the meeting here. And here is the whiteboard. Now I have my phone. I've got an iPad, an iPhone, and my laptop, my Surface, running this all at the same time. So what I've done is on my iPhone, I have installed the Microsoft Whiteboard app. So if I go in and type in, oh, let me click on this, select the pen, We will now see that little heart that popped up. That was done on my phone. I could then come in over here and, I could draw a sort of picture. And this will then sync through to my phone. So the reason people do this like this is that you can have your phone or your iPad where you are doing the drawing part, you are looking at each other through the video, and this way you get a more immersive experience and everything just works smoothly. So the second part of this question was around breakout rooms. Unfortunately, Teams doesn't have breakout rooms as such. So the point of a breakout room is that we've got 50 people in a meeting and they're in a workshop for 3 hours, and two or three of them need to just carve off a bit of time separately, sort something out, and then fold themselves back into the meeting. We don't directly have that within Teams. You have workarounds where you can use channels. So if we go back to our team, we could create a channel for the breakout, but what it means is they are then doing a group chat. They are not then aware of the main meeting anymore. So it doesn't have breakouts as such. There is a user voice around breakouts, but it's not quite there yet. Okay, don't know if this will actually come in. Now, as we've got this meeting, we may need to control who comes in. So some of you would have noticed that you had to wait in the lobby as you were coming into this thing, and Alice actually let you in. So Alice is part of our marketing team. She let you in. This is this concept of people waiting. So the lobby's been there for a long time, but controlling, do you let people in automatically or do you make them wait, is actually something that's very new. This came out in April. So if you create a meeting in Teams, you'll get, this is what the meeting looks like. Down the bottom there. So this is not my signature. This is actually, this because it's Sensei, you get that part of the template, but there's meeting options. So if I click on meeting options, what's going to load up is a web page. So it takes you outside a bit. I can't get into that because, or will I? No, I won't. Okay, interesting. So the one I tested yesterday worked. So what will pop up here is radio buttons with choices. I didn't set this meeting up, so Celia did. Now, this lets you set, do you make everyone wait? Or do you let everyone in automatically? Or do you let your own organization's people in automatically, but make guests wait? Okay. Now, another thing, we're kind of getting towards the end and some of the fun stuff. First thing is you can move between devices. Now I'm going to let you into a little secret. So there are some Sensei people on the call here. You forget what I'm telling you now. What you're able to do is move seamlessly between devices. So right now, I can mute myself over here and switch over to my phone or my iPad and continue the meeting. I can see everything, I can talk, I can hear you. Everything moves ahead completely seamlessly, and I can switch back again. So you're at home, you're having a morning meeting, it's 8 a.m., it's the morning stand-up to make sure you're all working. Well, it won't be the first time that I've been standing ironing a shirt or cooking some breakfast or feeding my dogs, and I've gone from my laptop to my phone and back again. People, this is the new world. The tools allow us to actually do this. Why do you have to be chained to your desk to do your work? Use Teams, you can actually move. You can carry your phone around the house and you can partake in that meeting as if you were, in the room essentially. You also, if you are using Teams on your phone, there is a quiet time. So I can't show you this on the desktop because it's not on the desktop version, but on the phone is the concept of quiet time. You can actually set to reduce this thing going ding. So you can say from this time to this time, Teams specifically has the notification suppressed. Now, last one, okay, is that we are going to look at some fun stuff. So if we go to Teams, and I need to go to where I was, hang on. So I'm just going to go back into the meeting. So I'm currently sharing the screen with you. I'm just going back into the meeting. And what we have here, Okay, so now we can see each other on video. There's me. If you're looking at the video, you can see a nice picture in the background. This is something that is quite new. You can change your background. So you can go to the ellipsis, the dots, and you can say, show background effects. And there are some out-of-the-box pictures. So you can say, well, I'm going to pretend that I am, well, I don't want you seeing the mess. So I'm going to blur my background. So I can do that. Or I can say, I want to choose, I'll pretend I'm in this empty room over here, and I can choose the background that's out of the box. Or if I scroll down, there are some pictures here. This is years ago. I was in the Kruger National Park in South Africa, and there's a giraffe I saw. Okay. Now you can do that as well. So what you do is you open up File Explorer, and you go to your C drive, and you go to Users, your name, then App Data. Now App Data may be hidden, so you may actually need to go to View and tell it to show you, tick to show you the hidden items, and then go to Roaming, and then Microsoft, then Teams, then Backgrounds, then Uploads, and in there you put your own pictures. So you can actually go and load whatever you want in there. Put pictures of your cat or your garden or your holiday snaps. You can go and put all that in, and then you too can have a nice picture of a giraffe or whatever it is that you've got. Okay, this brings us to the end of this kind of little story I've been telling, which has hopefully given me an opportunity to weave most of the questions and things we've had in as we've gone along. But let's open it up, I think, to Cecilia, just to ask any other questions that have possibly come through, or we'll open it to the floor.
Yep, so there's been one question that's come through.
Yeah.
From Rastogi, and she asks, does Teams files support multiple Excel users to edit the file simultaneously?
Yes, it does. So if you put a file, so what has been asked is, if we're in Teams, we have files. So within here, I can actually put in a file such as an Excel. Can more than one person work on that? So yeah, in this case, it will let you do that. Okay, Cecilia, any other questions?
Thanks, Ryan. No, that's not.
Yeah. Okay, does anyone want to shout out? Anyone got a question they've got? Don't all shout at once.
Ryan, if I have created a team by accident and I need to delete that again, well, how would I go about doing that?
This is a really topical question that ties into some stuff that we spoke about yesterday. So I'm actually going to get you to answer that question.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. So Mark, so just everyone, and I've kind of just made Mark step in it a bit here. So Mark is one of the executive directors, one of the founders of the company. Okay, so he's very much our visionary around that. So with your team, okay, the thing with the team is you can manage it, but you on your own are not going to be able to go and delete that. So at least not that I know of. So I've never tried to delete one. But Mark, you tell me otherwise. The way I know it is you've got, sorry?
Yeah, it's an administrative
It's an admin thing. You've got to go up a level. Because remember, the team is sitting on the group. And the team with all the channels have a site collection. There's quite a lot of infrastructure sitting behind it. So you've actually got to go to the admin in this case and get them to do it. Now, the channels, okay, are a different thing. You can create and delete channels yourself. The channel does not have the group behind it. There's a site collection, but it's a smaller piece of infrastructure, so you can actually delete that yourself. But it comes all the way back to when we started in the beginning. Don't go crazy creating teams. Remember, the team sits on top of the group. The group should mean something. So think about how you are designing the groups. So if you want help with that, give Sensei a call. We can help you with it. But it's really about, you wouldn't, for example, design an intranet by just letting everyone go and create a page for themselves. You would actually think about the types of people and the types of work and how they need to work together and how they need to collaborate and what they need to share and where you need to be surfacing apps, and therefore create your groups accordingly. Okay, any other questions? Yeah.
There's been a couple of more questions coming through. Karen is asking, we use PPM. Are you suggesting that we should use Teams as the primary tool?
No. So let me answer that one just before we go in. So if I look at this here, okay, this automated sensor system, what I'm saying is, if I sit down at my desk, I have to open Outlook, I open Teams, I go to SharePoint, I open up MS Project or Project Pro for my schedule, I open up the web so that I can go off to PPM. Why can't I do it all in one place? Why can't I have less places to go? So why can't I open Teams as I am here? And look, right here is, here is my, I don't know, I want to do a change request. So in over here, I can get to Project Online from within Teams. So if I can do that and I'm just a team member, well, couldn't I do that instead? And if you look at, I can't show you this now, there will be a future session on this, but IQ really takes that to the next level, where I want to do my work. I don't want to have to learn how to navigate to different tools. So inside Teams, think about, we're using PPM, but what are we doing? We are doing the project. So to do the work of the project, we collaborate. So we collaborate in teams. And since it's like we're all sitting in a room, we put all the team members in one room together and they're in a co-located space. Well, they need to do some apps so they can work together. Well, inside that room, let them run the apps. So inside the teams, we can go and put in all the different pieces. So what you're looking at here is PPM. So there's a traditional PDP. So if you're more used to that view, you can run it from it. So I'm not saying replace PPM. I'm saying think about pulling PPM and Power BI and additional apps, etc., everything together and accessing it through Teams. Okay, what was the other question?
Just on that, Ryan, I always like to take the analogy of Teams really being the window to all of the information that I need. And what a Teams environment allows me to do is it allows me to select what kind of information would I like to have in my Teams channel so that I can productively work alone and with my team together. Hence the reason why there are so many connectors. Cynically speaking, people call Teams these days almost the secondary the secondary operating system, because ultimately. And I mean, we see that the way that we use Teams. I think nowadays I'm 90% of my time's actually in Teams and not needing to navigate to Project Online or to SharePoint or to this or to that. I just bring those pieces together to have that overarching picture. And I think that's actually a nice analogy of how to view Teams. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that's really what it is. It's not a chat or video calling tool. It is that window into all the different information you need. Okay, Cecilia?
Yep, and I think that answered the follow-up question to that one, which was if you can link to tool sites in PPM and project schedule.
So you can link in the schedule, because the schedule is a PDP. To have Project Pro, the desktop tool, it's obviously still there. This you would run separately. If you were sitting,
if you select the schedule up there, I think you actually can showcase that the schedule is visible in Teams.
Yeah. So
up on the next to project register, it says schedule.
Yeah, I'm just reloading. So you have the schedules, the PDP, as I was mentioning there. So there we have it, okay. And look, it's the usual. So, you can interact with it here, or you can open it to actually be able to open it in MS Project or Project Pro itself. You can essentially think of the tabs as links that have the ability to have intelligence. So we are able to just link off to a website, very dumb link. We can also link, but build apps into that allow us to pass contextual information through, which is what we've done in this case. There's an app and a flow behind this that allows us to know. So this team was actually created by Project Online, created this and loaded everything in. So that I didn't have to go and select my project and load this in myself. Yes, Cecilia?
Yep. And then we've got another question from Lance Beam. Is there a limit of the number of site collections that limit the number of groups or teams?
I can answer that if you want to.
Okay, go for it. I know why he's asking this, but yeah, go for it.
It's interesting. So site collections is the term of a SharePoint infrastructure, and as we know, there are limitations to that site collection. And actually, there are 3,000 subsites that a SharePoint site can have within a collection. And for all of you Project Online users, that is actually a technical restriction where we then need to create a new site collection. Well, when you create a team, what you technically actually do, you create a group, and technically each individual group is its own site collection. So are there limitations? Surely there are limitations. However, because the group, you create groups and teams much more dispersed as you would in SharePoint, I don't think that these limitations would apply. So technically speaking, every group has its own site collection. And that's actually how it works. That's why a group contains a SharePoint site and then contains the security component of the users and all of those things. So that you don't have to worry about that limitation in the site collections anymore.
So we have a lot of clients who are getting to, using Project Online, are getting to 2,000 sites, project sites. And they've hit a soft limit over there, performance is being impacted. Moving away from sites should be part of your future roadmap, either towards something like Sensei IQ or just keep Project Online but move away from sites. And when we start looking at using teams or anything that's not that SharePoint site inside Project Online, we break out of those initial limits. So yes, as Mark said, there may be limits. I don't actually know if there's a hard limit around groups, but whatever it is, I know it would be large and significantly larger than anything we're likely to run into. So Lance, I think to answer your question, based on, I know where you're coming from on this, this will solve your problem, and this is one of the paths we would take you down.
And then there was another one from Lance. Are the Teams tabs an out-of-the-box feature or a Sensei extension?
This is an out-of-the-box thing. It's part of Teams. So in Project Online, you have a thing called Empower PPM. It's a Sensei tool, and as part of that, we have built a user interface enhancement to allow tabs inside Project Online. The tabs we are looking at in over here, this is a purely out-of-the-box Teams thing. So you right now create one, hit the plus sign, find your favorite app and add that in. And this could be, put Excel in, put Planner, Power BI, very common. People put website. If you just want to link, put a website in, put an address in, and link off to your intranet or help manuals, etc. This is purely out of the box.
Thanks, Ryan. And then someone asked, or Aya asked, we have PPM. Can you provide the steps to integrate with in Teams the way you did there?
Yes, we can. Now, so if we think of the integration, what we have done is a couple of different things. This automated sense system, some of you have seen Mark done a lot of demos. Some of you would have seen I've done demos. This is our favorite project that we use from our Project Online demo environment. So what has happened is we've gone and created a project inside Project Online. It has, as part of that, we don't care about it creating a project site. We've actually built some functionality in to go and create the backend, which gives us a modern SharePoint site and a team, which is associated with that. Now, that is a little bit of customization that we've got in there. So I can't give you a manual on how to do that yourself.
Actually, Ryan, we can. Sorry.
I know we can. I just wasn't going to.
We actually made that free of charge available, Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to add to that, under normal circumstances, Project Online you would have that project side. In our Empowered, we know that this is not the right path to do. People want to collaborate in teams. So we developed a little add-on to Project Online that essentially allows you to say, hey, when you create a project, I don't want you to create a project SharePoint site, but I would like you to create a group and associate that to the group. And that is the add-on that we developed, and we made that available on GitHub, by the way, just for information. So you do have it has two big, it resolves two big issues. On one hand, you actually now have a team associated to a project and can work just like Ryan works in teams with Project Online. You can invite externals to your teams without them needing to have an extra license, of course, and you overcome the limitations of 2,000 sites per site collection, and that's the reason why we've done that.
Yeah. So I didn't know that was actually freely available now. So Cecilia, if you take a note of that, we'll contact you afterwards, and we can point you to where you can get that, and if you need, we can help you set that up.
Yep, we can do that. And then I believe one of the last few questions here from this one is from Craig. Can you forward an email directly to a person or group chat rather than a channel?
Can you forward an email? Not sure what you mean. So so within Teams, the emails go to the channels or from the channels. So no, you're not going to get a personal email sent in. It doesn't actually do that. That would be great. I will bet you in our lifetime that Outlook disappears and Teams takes over. Microsoft is not saying that, but that's where I'm putting my money. Right now the email functionality is to a channel.
But what that does allow you to do, if you need to address a particular person via email, you would, of course, just simply send an email to that person, and then you would CC the email address of that channel, and that would automatically add that email to the channel, which is super cool. Yeah. Especially in project management, how often does it happen that we have 50,000 different emails floating around, and then we need to look at something, and now suddenly we have the ability to use those capabilities to share even communication like emails with the entire team. I think that's.
We want to keep the history of those transmittals and get people out of the email. So we want to make this available to everyone to have a record of, so it doesn't get lost. Yeah, Cecilia?
Thanks, Ryan. No more questions have come through now, and we're pretty much 1 minute away from finishing up.
We will thank everyone for giving up their lunch break to look at this. I hope it was useful. Please feel free to contact us. Most of you either know me or Mark or someone at Sensei. Just reach out. If you don't know us, feel free to reach out. And I actually prepared a slide that talks all about that. So feel free to contact us, and we are more than happy to talk to you about how this can work. Look, most of it's just there. Most of what I've shown you is just basic tips and tricks, out of the box stuff. Sensei has done things like integrate Project Online in very nicely, but you're at home, you need a tool to help you. Teams can really help you a lot and becomes a nice platform for you to access information going forward. So enjoy the rest of Friday afternoon. Have a great weekend. Stay healthy, stay safe, and hopefully we will see you in the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
prior to, and also the ones that came through during